the coalition is warning that Australians could be jailed under Anthony Albanese's new misinformation laws. Laws that have already passed the House of Representatives and they're set to go to a vote in the Senate next week. These are dangerous Orwellian-style laws that will not only curb free speech, but provide the sort of censorship that's commonplace in totalitarian dictatorships like China and Russia. We've already seen disturbing censorship of public interest investigations in the name of misinformation. My COVID Origins reporting, the Hunter Biden laptop story, those who campaigned against The Voice, and also concerns about COVID-era mandates. And that was all before these laws. Legal experts in the coalition are now concerned that individuals linked to digital platforms like podcasts could be imprisoned for a year if they don't cooperate with public hearings and investigations into misinformation. There are also other penalties. People could be fined thousands of dollars and tech giants millions simply for posting content that government bureaucrats claim is misinformation. Now, the Communications Minister tried to weave her way out of this in an interview with Ben Fordham.
OK, we've heard about potential jail sentences. Under what circumstances would someone go to jail?
Well, this isn't about individuals going to jail, Ben. That is just false.
So who would go to jail?
Well, your users aren't going to jail under this. This is purely goes to the conduct of the platforms and their systems and processes.
OK, I understand my listeners won't go to jail. Who might go to jail?
Well, none of your listeners are going to jail here, Ben. But there is a graduated enforcement scheme that's under the Act that has penalties in it.
A graduated enforcement scheme that has penalties in it. Well, as you heard, ultimately, she couldn't deny the fact that jail was a penalty, with the Daily Telegraph reporting that under Section 202, if someone refuses to appear at misinformation inquiries or refuses to cooperate without a reasonable excuse, they can be jailed up to a year. Now, the legislation defines misinformation to mean anything that's reasonably verifiable as false, misleading, or deceptive. But who decides this? Who's the arbiter of this? Bureaucrats? One lawyer, Justin Quill, points out, once they deem something false or misleading, it opens up a Pandora's box of powers, including the right to question people in investigations, and if someone doesn't cooperate, potentially jail them. But what's especially terrifying and Orwellian is that the Communications Minister can personally order public show trials herself. We've already seen the Prime Minister and senior cabinet ministers throw around accusations of misinformation, often in Parliament. Well, there'd be nothing stopping the minister, under the law, ordering a public hearing accusing X and Elon Musk of misinformation if she felt it was running more conservative views or misinformation during an election period. And here's how the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, remember, has already spoken about Elon Musk.
We'll do what's necessary to take on this arrogant billionaire who thinks he's above the law. Social media has a social responsibility. If Mr. Musk doesn't understand that, that says more about him than it does about my government.
And now this woke and grotesquely out-of-touch Prime Minister wants to be able to fine people for so-called misinformation. It's an insult to the intelligence of Australians. It's taking critical thinking out of our hands. And this isn't all as far-fetched as it sounds, because in the UK, we're already seeing innocent people being arrested for what they've said on social media. Now, I've been campaigning on this issue for a long time. In fact, I was the first journalist to report on concerns about this misinformation bill. This was before the coalition had even decided to oppose the laws, and I encouraged them to do so publicly in June last year. High-profile journalist Michael Schellenberger has been fighting back against similar misinformation laws internationally. His advocacy has been incredible, and he's on my show tonight. He says what we're seeing now in Australia is the worst censorship we've seen anywhere in the world.
I think the Albanese government is treating its particular brand of woke politics as a religion.
And he's right. The Albanese government is doing a lot of damage to our country. Its lack of action on social cohesion and anti-Semitism is right up there. But in terms of legislation, this is the single most concerning law the government is introducing. No government of any political persuasion should be the arbiter of the truth, should be given the power to determine what's factual and what's misinformation. Because free speech is part of what distinguishes us from dictatorships. We need to fight for our values and our democracy and stop the Albanese government from fining and even maybe jailing people who refuse to puppet their woke ideology. The pursuit of causes that may be unfashionable or unpopular at a single point in time is fundamental for the growth of Western civilization.